We're looking out for the but, as we all are in life sometimes, right? They are cheesy. If we could solve that problem, would that be of a massive benefit to you?
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Sales Circle podcast. Now, before we go on, I want to give a massive apology, a bit of a sorry. I feel last week's episode was fantastic. I think it was really great. I love the episodes where we answer a lot of your questions, but I think perhaps last week's episode, it got really rushed, especially towards the end. And there's some of you who have sent in questions that I've not had a chance to read out yet. So what I'm going to do is we're going to do another question and answer episode in a few weeks' time. They seem to be quite popular. A lot of you are saying how much you like them. So I'll make sure that I include more of them in the coming weeks and months. But sorry if it seemed rushed. But welcome to today's episode of the Sales Circle. Today we're going to be talking about the test close, and we're going to investigate what the test close is and what it means. We're going to investigate where it can be used. We're going to investigate why, the hows, the whats and the whens, and everything to do with the test close. So this should be, in theory, a 25 to half an hour long episode investigating the test close. And as always, I'm going to be sharing some of your top questions and my book recommendation of the week. But before we go on, allow me, if I may, to introduce myself. My name is Rob Spence, an internationally renowned sales trainer, sales author, sales coach, and I'm your host of the Sales Circle podcast. Now, we are absolutely raking in these episodes, so you should know by now. But if you're new to the pod, then allow me to quickly tell you what it's all about. The Sales Circle podcast has been designed as your ultimate number one resource to help you with your sales. You could be listening to this as a salesperson, as a sales manager, as a sales professional, maybe as an entrepreneur, maybe as a CEO, maybe as a business owner, maybe as a solopreneur. If you need to make sales for whatever reason, then this podcast simply is for you. Each episode comes out every single Thursday. It hits Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and is available on YouTube. And they last about half an hour long and are designed and are there to help you increase your sales, whether that be through skill set, mindset, theory, stories, and everything else in between. I do have a cheeky favour to ask of you, two cheeky favours. One being, very soon, we are going to be introducing some guests to the podcast. We're not going to make it a week-by-week thing, but we want to get guests onto the podcast that can help us talk about sales stories, talk about sales strategies, and for those sales professionals or business owners to share their sales stories and their journeys. If you'd like to be a guest, maybe you've got a great story to share, then please do get in touch. You can email me over at thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. You can contact us anywhere over on social media. Or, of course, find me on LinkedIn. I'm Rob Spence. You'll find me there. Let's jump into today's episode, and we are going to be talking about the test close. So let's go into segment one, which we're going to explain in a bit more detail what the test close is. Now, whenever we talk about sales, and whenever we talk about, in particular, sales training, the one thing that kind of comes up in a lot of conversations and in a lot of my trainings is, how do I close more people? How do I use closing techniques? What closing techniques can I use to make a sale, to close this, to close that, X, Y, Z? There are a multitude of closing techniques or questioning techniques that can help our customer or a prospect go on to make a purchase, to go on and make a sale. Now, for me, I've always found that actually some of the old-fashioned, hardened closing techniques are that. They are cheesy, they are tough, they are pushy, and sometimes can actually null and void the relationship. What I have found, however, is the test close has been, at times, one of my most effective ways for me to do business with anyone. For me to close anyone, I can put my hand on heart and say I've used the test close as a way to close people. And it works. And it's not so pushy. And it gives you so many great things to talk about during that sales conversation. So the test close, put really simply, is a check and a test to see if your prospect is going to buy. It's the subtle way of checking to understand how close or how soon your prospect is to making to want that decision. You are effectively asking a question that is gauging their interest, gauging desire levels, gauging buying signals, and making sure that you're on track. The beauty of the test close is this: it's not too pushy. A positive response will give you the chance to go on and close the deal. A positive response will allow you the chance to go in, close the deal, close the sale, and everyone's happy. But what it also does is it kind of adds as a bit of a buffer to any rejection and gives you sometimes the chance to either re-propose or represent or repitch, or sometimes it allows you to overcome objections that perhaps you've not sort of gauged. So it will help you put the finger on the pulse of the conversation. So some of the notes I've written down there, it will help you check if they're interested, see if there are any hidden objections, and are you moving in the right direction. So some of the examples that you could use are words to the effect of, look, with everything I've said so far, how does that sound? Or, if we could solve that problem, would that be of a massive benefit to you? Or does this sound something that you could use? Or does this sound like something that you feel you could put to good use? Now, a lot of those terminologies in there, I believe, and please write in and correct me if I'm wrong, they are verbs, right? We are using a lot of verbs. So we're saying, how does it sound? How does it feel? Could you consider? Can you imagine? They might not be verbs, thinking about it. They could be, I don't know. But we're utilizing words and key phrases that we're saying, look, if we were to go ahead, do you think this will be good for you? Every industry, whether that be B2B, B2C, can use the test close. You could sell a sofa by utilizing words to the effect of, so now you've sat on the sofa. Can you see that fitting in your living room? Can you see yourself watching Ant and Dec's Saturday night takeaway whilst sitting on that sofa? Can you see yourself driving away in that car today? Can you see that car parked on your driveway? With everything we discussed, do you feel that our unlimited warranty would work well for you? We're testing and we're trialing. The way I've always put it in a lot of my sales trainings, and I get looked at weird when I say this for a multitude of reasons, but when I was learning to drive many years ago now, my driving instructor told me to peep and creep, and it's not as creepy as it first sounds. He told me that when we're approaching a T-junction and it's blind, imagine yourself down a country road, you're going down that country road, you're at the T-junction, and all the hedges are up nice and big. You can't really see too much of the road. You're not too sure if cars are coming or not. He said to peep and creep. He said the worst thing you want to do is just go full out, take your foot off the clutch, go bursting out, and boom, you're hit by a tractor or a car or a cyclist or whatever. He said to peep and creep. You take necessary steps until you can see the road, and then you can make a decision on how to proceed and how to react. It's the same with the peep and creep. It's the same as the test close. We are peeping and creeping into that conversation. So let's look at why a test close can be so effective. So I think I've really alluded already to why the test close works, and I want to make really clear the test close has worked for me. I use the test close, I'd probably say 90% of the sales conversations that I have, sometimes verbally, sometimes in an email, sometimes in a WhatsApp or whatever. But why is it so good and why is it so useful? Well, tip number one, it helps you identify those objections. There could be objections on the mind of your prospect. And remember, there's kind of two ways we want to go with the test close. We want a positive result or a negative result, or a not so positive result. Obviously, the positive result speaks for itself. The negative gives us a chance to repitch. Yes, it's good, but. Yes, I feel it could work, however. Yes, but. Yes, however. Not so sure. All these words will come up when you ask the test close. And what that allows you to do is then sort of a multitude of things. One, it will allow you to perhaps explain that actually those objections can be fixed and solved. Yeah, it looks good, but I prefer blue. You should have said earlier. We sell this we've got 5 different shades of blue. Which one do you prefer? Yeah, it sounds good, but actually my budget doesn't get released until next month. No issue at all. We can place the order today and just give you longer payment terms on the invoice. Yeah, it's all right, but I need to check in with my partner, with my spouse, with my business partner. Absolutely. This is a decision that's going to take some time. Why don't we get them involved in this? Are they free now to come and take a look? Are they free now for a phone call? Can I come out and see you next week? And so on and so forth. It gives you the chance to re-pitch and maybe explain things that maybe have got missed off. The test close may also build some trust with your prospect. As I said earlier, I think closing techniques can be cheesy, they can be forceful, they can be a bit too direct, and for many it could put them off. And with that in mind, the test close is quite a British way of just asking for permission, basically, to take the conversation further. That makes you seem as less of a pushy salesperson. To some degree, it shows some forms of active listening, and to some degree, it shows some forms of understanding what your buyer actually wants and needs. So it really helps build that trust and credibility. It will also help you guide that conversation in a collaborative way. It'll help you, if that conversation's being lost due to mumbling, due to tangents or anything else in between, it will give you the chance to kind of steer that sales conversation back in touch. I've got a little statistic for you that I think will really help elevate my point here. This statistic is taken directly from HubSpot, so a fantastic CRM system. 78% of buyers say they're more likely to purchase from reps who listen and guide them rather than pressure them. 78% of buyers want someone to guide them. And I think that goes back to what we said earlier on today. And it's something we're going to cover in next episode also. If we are too pushy as salesperson, we do just that. We push people away. In fact, what we should be doing is guiding people towards us and towards our products and services. So let's investigate, if we may, when to use the test close. So whenever I deliver the test close into teams, they always say, well, when should we use it? Is it always at the end of the sales presentation? And I'd like to argue that, although yes, of course, there's argument that it should be put at the end of a presentation, at the end of your pitch, at the end of a sales process, actually the test close can be used as checkpoints along the road. For any of you that watched or listened to last week's episode of the Sales Circle, we answered a question in there. I can't remember who sent it in. I do apologize. We were talking about buying signals. And the thing is with when we're selling is that many people can sort of sell too much, right? We end up pushing people away. Remember the analogy I use, or the symbology I use, which is a thermometer. When we're trying to sell, we're trying to get our buyer to get to 100 degrees. We want to get them to boiling point. Some salespeople will either try and close too early, right? And they'll either try and sell too late. The buyer's ready to go and they've talked themselves out of the sale. And that's where we listen to buying signals. And maybe actually we should do a full episode on buying signals perhaps. But once again, we're looking for verbal, non-verbal clues. We're looking for good body language. We're looking for yeses, We're looking for the reading of marketing collateral. We want to listen out for good questions and so on and so forth. We also know the negative buying signals, which would normally be, people get a bit distracted. They start to think about their dinner that they're having that night and so on and so forth, right? The test close can be used at multitudes of points to make sure that we've not taken that pot over boiling point. So we can use it. I've made some notes here after we've sort of maybe highlighted a really relevant benefit or feature. So look, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, this camera comes with 4K filming, 60 FPS, yada, yada, yada. Would that benefit you and your team? Do you feel that this camera could sort of really help you elevate your content? Perhaps I've just made that up on the spot. That's a bit weak. So when we present a feature or benefit, the test close can just help check that learning. If that's not of relevance to us, we can steer the conversation. Remember, a lot of buyers will have a motivational desire. Sometimes it's cost, sometimes it's usability, sometimes it's the features and benefits, and X, Y, Z. That allows us to steer the conversation, understand their needs. It could be after a prospect addresses a pain point. Now, we know in questioning techniques that actually what should happen is we should show active listening and we should use the layering technique of questioning to then take that a little bit further. So if a prospect says, yeah, look, we need, 4K filming because our last camera only had 1080, and obviously with technology moving at the speed it is, we need 4K filming. Okay, so you say you need 4K filming. So with this camera filming in 4K at, 60 FPS, do you feel that will really elevate and take your content to the next level? We're showing active listening, but we're also using the test close to really highlight why this camera is the right choice. We can use it before we talk about pricing, which is actually a good one if you're really worried about discounting. And of course, after any demo or walkthrough, we've presented a demo, we've given our pitch, we've given our presentation. With everything I've just said there, Mr. or Mrs. Prospect, do you feel this could be a good fit for you? That's what we're doing. We're using it throughout all of the process. Let's investigate now. Let's dive a little bit deeper into what happens upon the response of a test close. As I said earlier, the beauty of a test close is the fact that it's not a full stop in the conversation. It's not going to push your prospects away. And it will allow, as I keep saying, one of two things, with multitudes of prongs off them, but two main things. One, a positive response. Yeah, absolutely. This is exactly what I've been looking for. This is just what I need. Fantastic. Do you want me to explain things in more detail, or shall we get the forms over to you ready to sign? Or, words to the effect of, yeah, this is what me and my husband have needed all this time. Great stuff. I mean, is it worth us kind of going through the next steps in the process now so we can get the ball rolling? Or words to that effect, right? They're the positive sides. If they say no, the rejection is a bit less because we've not asked a definite yes or no, do you want to buy from me? We are testing. If they say no, it gives us, remember that, yes, but. That's what we're looking out for. We're looking out for the but, as we all are in life sometimes, right? We are asking, yes, but it's a bit too pricey. Hey, listen, don't stress. Just out of interest, is it sort of too pricey as a one-off? Would you be exploring payment terms? Or is it just you're looking for something a bit more cost effective? Or where's that effect? We're looking for that, however, but, yes, but, however, not so sure. So don't get me wrong, there will be a multitude of things that happen. And just after this short break in a second, I'm going to share with you my top tips on how to use a test close. But just remember, it's your chance to test the learning, test the waters, put the elbow in the bath before you put your baby in it, and then you're good to go. If you have been enjoying the Sales Circle podcast, which I'm sure many of you have, I'd like to extend an invitation to you. If you are watching or listening to this podcast, I have no doubt you are a big fan of sales and you want to boost and increase your sales and your sales skills and your sales techniques. I have an array of sales training courses, all available online. These can be done on an online LMS system, in the comfort of your own home, in the bath, at the gym, wherever. We've got an array of courses based on everything from questioning to closing techniques to objection handling to all-round B2B sales, all-round B2C sales, how to write an elevator pitch, and much, much more. If you want to take what you're learning from the Sales Circle and to take it on to the next step, then perhaps the online sales courses could be for you. How do you sign up, I hear you ask? Well, you can, firstly, check out the link below. There'll be always a link on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, on YouTube. Click on that link, that'll take you directly to our online courses. You can, of course, search for my business, Paragon Sales Solutions. On there, you will see a link that says online sales training. Click on that and you're good to go. So welcome back. Just before we start to wrap up, just before we start to take you to the ends of the podcast, allow me, if I may, to share my top tips on how to use the test close. Remember, I use this, I would say 90% of the time, and I've got a good conversion rate, and I think it's something that will be of a massive benefit to you. Just remember, you've got to keep it conversational. To be fair, any sales conversation should be conversational. If we try and script things, it sounds robotic, it sounds fake. So just keep it conversational. Hey, listen, with everything I've said, how does that sound? How does that feel? How does that look? It's a conversation. Make sure that question is as open-ended as possible. Remember, normally with a closing question, we're trying to make that closing question a closed question. So normally there's a yes or a no, or a purchase or a no purchase. Well, actually, we want the test close, believe it or not, to be as open as possible because that allows that conversation to flow. Only ask one test close at a time. Don't overwhelm. We just, remember, checkpoints along the road, checkpoints to see if we're in the right zone. And be ready. Be ready and really listen to what that response is. If they say, yeah, but I need some, I need some time to think about it. Yeah, of course. Well, listen, let me keep showing you this. We've got to take on board what the prospect is saying so that we can then tailor our pitch to their needs and requirements. So allow me, if I may, we're going to jump into the listeners' question section of the podcast. So every week we ask for sales questions from you, our listeners. Now, these questions could be anything. They could be about sales techniques. They could be about sales tips. They could be about maybe a prospect in your pipeline that you're struggling with. Maybe they could be about your job as a whole. Whatever it is, I am on hand to answer you. I'll either try and answer them on an episode per episode basis, or I will sort of do like we did last week, a weekly roundup or a monthly roundup of all these questions, and we'll answer them all in one go. If you have a question, all you got to do is email in thesalescircleofficial@gmail.com. Contact us anywhere on social media, or drop a comment, or of course, send me a message direct on LinkedIn. I've only got one question for you today. This one is from Tom up in Leeds. Lovely to see you, Tom, or hear from you, Tom. Tom goes on to say, I sometimes feel a bit awkward asking for a test close. I feel it kind of feels like I'm rushing the sale. Would you agree? I think if done correctly, if anything, the test close actually is the opposite. Remember, the test close can't sound like a closing question. The test close shouldn't sound like a, would you like it in red or blue? Could you see yourself driving this away today? Can we get the orders signed right away? Can you buy now from me? We're using it as a checkpoint to test learning, to check learning, to understand needs, wants, and requirements. So I think, to answer your question, Tom, just try and slip it out conversationally. Just try and make it sound inquisitive. Sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. If you are a robot and say, with everything that I've said, would you like to buy this today? With everything that I've said, can you see yourself driving away in this car tomorrow? Where's that effect? If you say, hey, listen, I know I've been talking a lot here. With everything I've said, can you see this fitting in with your lifestyle? Can you see this being of a benefit to your business? It's inquisitive. It's how we ask. So if anything, Tom, I think just practice and get used to it. Remember, it's just a check-in. We are just checking and learning. But thanks so much for your question. Hopefully we'll have more questions for next week. And let's move on, shall we, to our book recommendation of the week. Now, for you avid listeners, for you avid viewers, you will know that every single week we release a weekly book recommendation, a book that we think, or I feel, would be of a great benefit to you. There's no point in hiding the fact, because it's right in the frame behind me, that I think the best salespeople, the best business people in the world study, they research, and they enhance their mind. I believe also that reading is one of the best ways to do that. And every week we recommend a book. Now you can grab a hold of this book by using the link in the comments below. Just have a little scroll down, look in the show notes, look in the YouTube description. You'll see a link. You can buy a copy for yourself. Today's book is keeping in line with the closing mentality, with the kind of closing technique thoughts. And I've gone for, I'm going to say, a classic. As soon as I show it up, you're going to recognize. It's funny how branding works, actually, sometimes. I'm going to introduce to you Sales Closing for Dummies. Now, this is a book written by a chap called Glenn Salisbury. And no, it's not. It's not written by Glenn Salisbury. It's not written by Glenn Salisbury. It's written by Tom Hopkins. Glenn Salisbury is just a guy that reviewed the book. How embarrassing. The book is by Tom Hopkins, a renowned sales trainer. Now, look, we all know the For Dummies brand. We all know the For Dummies ethos here. It's a very simple guide on closing techniques to help you close more sales. Now, as with every, For Dummies book, it's a very easy read with good formatting inside, quite similar to the Jeffrey Gitomer book that I shared with you last week and probably a couple of weeks prior to that. There's a lot of easy formatting. So if you are nervous about reading, perhaps you've not picked up a book since school or college, and you're thinking, oh gosh, how am I supposed to take on board with this, this big book? this is a good book. Now, the reason I've agreed or sort of added in this book to my reviews is because sales closing is vitally important. My argument and my thesis still stands. I think if you do everything else well in a sales process, the actual closing kind of happens naturally. And with that in mind, I do feel, however, that this book gives you some good ideas, some good questioning techniques, some good ideas on how to close more sales. So it says here it will help you lead a sale without being pushy, read the signs of an interested potential buyers, which is the buying signals we talk a lot about, use questioning methods, help clients feel good about their buying decisions, keep your client's business, and develop loyalty. So I remember reading this, full transparency, a few years ago, and when I first picked it up, I thought it was going to turn me into one of those sleazy, cold, hard, snake oil salespeople, right? But actually, because of the questioning techniques, because of the mindset, because of the buying signals, it actually really helps you understand the mindset of a buyer before you close, but then the questioning techniques that can help you get to a closing technique. So this is my book recommendation of the week. I'll get the author right this time. Tom Hopkins, Sales Closing for Dummies. Just as a reminder, a copy of that, a link to that will be available in the show notes or the YouTube description below. So go ahead, get your copy. It won't be too expensive, but a very, very good read. And that takes us to the end of another episode of the Sales Circle podcast. Thank you so much for making it to the end with me. I feel like this week I've been a little less rushed. I've got a monitor to the side of the camera, which sometimes you might see me glancing at with a little clock. And I'm really conscious to not go over that sort of half an hour mark, simply because you're busy. You've got meetings to go to. You've got an office to go to. Most importantly, you've got sales to make. And that's why, unless we get a great expert in for an interview, I like to keep these as short and sweet as possible. So a couple of questions from me. One, did you enjoy the show? If you did, please give it a 5-star rating and please hit that follow button and or the subscribe button. If you have any sales questions, please message them in or comment below. And of course, please do go look in the show notes for loads of resources on how you can boost your sales. Thank you so much for joining me. It's a great pleasure. These episodes take a lot of time, but I love doing them and they come out every single Thursday without fail. A massive thank you to Jack, who painstakingly has to listen to my voice and watch my face and edit these up. So thank you, Jack, for making it to the end as well. I look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, we're going to be talking about a theory that I penned in my first book, and that theory being the tennis ball theory. I can't wait to share that with you. Until next time, though, I wish you all the best. See you soon. And that's it for another episode of the Sales Circle. Make sure you hit that follow button, join us over on social media, and we'll see you next week.